Hello, I am Jamie Buckland with the West Virginia FUE, Families United for Education, and I am joined today by our special guest, Nate from Brushfire. Nate, why don't you get us started just by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you came up with this idea and how Brushfire started?
Good to be with you, Jamie, and hello, everyone. My name is Nate, and I am the founder and CEO of Brushfire Education, and our specialty is providing small group direct instruction classes to parents who need remedial help for their kids' reading, writing, and math. I got started in this line of work purely by accident. My first business when I got out of the Marine Corps was an online publishing business, which failed. You learn probably more from failure than you do from success. We published other people's material. That was really kind of created some problems with copyright, finding out who owned the copyright, paying copyright fees. So from a business standpoint, it really wasn't sustainable. So what I decided is we need to provide our own intellectual property, our own curriculum. And we did that by pairing with a local school. We're based out of Denver, pairing with a local school called the Hill Springs Learning Center. And the Hill Springs Center specialized in teaching kids with ADHD and dyslexia and other learning disabilities. And they looked at us and they said, well, look, you guys have curriculum, but you don't have any methodology. We have methodology, but no curriculum. They were
That's
the
right.
peanut butter, we were the chocolate. And we
Yeah.
said, we'd be happy to take our curriculum and format it for what you need. Just tell us what it is. And they said, well, it's called direct instruction. And we had never heard of that before. But as we went through and looked at it, we said, these are universal learning techniques to be able to master something at its most basic and fundamental for all subject areas. Scaffolding is a term you may have heard. So we started to do that and then said, not just special ed, the general ed population needs this, especially in at-risk schools, which Denver has plenty of. The whole country has plenty of. I think almost 80% of all Americans below the age of 20 need some kind of remediation for their reading, writing, and math. So we followed that technique and we started teaching our own classes in these schools and started getting very good results. Now that Education Choice has really seen a growth across the country, these have been perfect opportunities then to offer these services to parents across the country. We're looking at is homeschool population, and we're looking at an age range of probably 13 to 18. To give you an idea of what direct instruction is, the first time I encountered it was in the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps teaches this. The military is probably one of the best educators in the United States because it's got to take basically everybody that qualifies and it's got to teach them a range of skills, everything from learning Chinese to running a nuclear reactor aboard a submarine to landing a plane on an aircraft carrier. You've got to train to a very high standard very quickly. We've taken those kind of principles and applied them to basic reading, writing, and math. Marine Corps, for us, what they did is marksmanship. They teach it probably better than any other service in the world because every Marine's a rifleman. You have to learn the principles of marksmanship. Once you've mastered that, they take you to the range. You'd be amazed at how easy that is. Once you've mastered those fundamentals, you master that. It's scaffolded. And that's all we've done is apply those into reading, writing, and math.
So tell me, when did you guys get started?
Brushfire was established in 2020. We started the precursor to Brushfire in 2009. So we've been doing
Okay.
this for almost 15 years.
You're interested in partnering with the local veterans on the ground and with the instructors who are going to be the ones that are actually working in person with the students. Talk a little about that partnership that you have with local veterans to carry out the teaching and instruction in the small group setting.
Our entire workforce in Colorado, they were all veterans in college, going to school on their GI Bill. We like hiring veterans because they can accomplish the mission with minimal supervision and they're trainable because they've been trained at the same standards we did. We hired 8 out of CU Boulder in Colorado. We trained them and then we used them for our instructor force and they did a wonderful job. We plan on doing the same thing in West Virginia. You don't necessarily have to be in college on the GI Bill.
Right.
Generally, we do that though because of the flexibility of schedule.
Sure. What does the small group setting look like? How big are the class sizes and the age range that you're looking to serve?
13 to 18. We've taken as young as 6th grade, which I think is probably 11, 12, but it's pretty serious stuff for reading. What we'll do is work in groups of 3 to 6, no more than 6, because direct instruction requires the instructor to constantly be asking questions about what they just read. So for example, we'll take a reading unit. We'll start with that because we think reading is fundamental. Even a lot of math issues that we have come from the fact that they aren't reading properly. When we've gone into our math units, we found that they'll read a word problem. They won't really understand what the question is asking. They'll just see the numbers and start multiplying, adding, and we'll say, stop, slow down, read. What is the question asking you? Is it asking you to add, subtract, divide, or multiply? You can find out by certain words in the question that we identified. For reading, the first thing is we'll use what's called word attack. Isolated word reading list. All of our reading units are about 5 to 6 pages. We have them divided up by paragraph. The students will read the paragraph out loud, and that is really critical. We like them to read out loud so we can correct their pronunciation, but also identifying fluency. Sometimes in as little as 10 to 12 hours, they start reading more accurately and more quickly. I can tell you exactly the moment when each of them, their fluency has improved, and you say, aha, okay. That's your first step. Your next step is comprehension. They'll read that one paragraph, so it's not too much, it's not too overwhelming. And then we'll have the instructor at the table, and we'll go through a study guide that asks questions about each paragraph. The next step after fluency, where we notice an improvement in literacy, is retention. When they first read that out and look up at the question and look down at the reading, they'll do that over and over to find the answer. We know they're making progress is when they read the paragraph, look up at the question, and identify the answer immediately without having to look back at the paper. That's retention. That means whatever they were reading stuck in their minds where they don't have to refer back to a text. For vocabulary, we'll take 10 to 12 words that are in that unit. We'll isolate them. We'll have them run through a game called Jumbled Words or Hangman to learn that first and master it. That goes from passive to active recall. They'll encounter those words again in the text and then be able to remember them better. And then there's also supplemental vocab and how to read, pronounce words. The main ideas from that reading unit are what we use to scaffold when we go to writing. I read the other day that even the FBI was talking about how it has to have remedial classes because they're getting people with such poor writing skills. They're having some real issues. Writing's a big one. We'll take that main idea and then we'll do what's called a closed paragraph exercise. We'll have them read through an ideal answer, and then we'll remove some of the words. And then we'll go back and we'll say, okay, what is that word? It doesn't have to be the right word. Think in your own words, something to fit that. Once they have that framework, they'll go up to the board and have them write, what would you say in your own words for that first opening sentence, 3 sentences, right, that answer the question and the concluding sentence. Works on attention to detail, grammar, punctuation. For math, we'll start out with pretty basic word problems, and we can identify within 30 seconds if we need to back up and do borrow and carry, multi-digit multiplication. Division's a big one. They don't know how to divide. We spend a ton of time on that, and that usually will take up an entire day. You'd be surprised how these kids, without any cell phones, with their attention riveted on something, can go through routinely 6-7 hours pretty straight.
We're excited for you guys to be here in West Virginia. Where do we go to learn more about Brushfire?
You can go to brushfireusa.com. That's got all our curriculum. There's a tab on there that says what we do, and you can either contact us through the website. If you want a password, you're free to look at any of our curriculum. We're totally transparent. Or you can just email me directly, nate@brushfireusa.com. We're very excited to be in West Virginia.
We're going to partner together so that we can bring him out here to West Virginia to meet with our communities and determine where we are going to be able to see these come to fruition as soon as possible. So Nate, thank you so much for carving out time to talk with our audience today. For anybody that's paying attention outside of West Virginia, reach out to Nate to find out more. I think this is going to be a great offering to West Virginia.
Great to be with you.